"I can't believe this is my fate," Sheikha Fatima whispered, her voice choked with emotion as the nauseating smell of spoiled food invaded her nostrils. Blind, she fumbled for the cold, slimy plate, forced to eat the kitchen scraps, while the cruel laughter of her daughter-in-law Zahira echoed through the golden mansion. Little did the elderly woman know that, at that very moment, Sheikh Karim, her son, was just a few hours' flight away, returning home unexpectedly and about to uncover the rot hidden beneath the veil of luxury, forever changing everyone's destiny. That day, like so many others, Sheikha Fatima's physical darkness mirrored the darkness imposed by Zahira. After the humiliating lunch, her daughter-in-law, with a false smile, had helped Fatima to stand up, but not before moving the small tea table. Fatima, her cane tapping the air, felt the emptiness where the furniture should have been. She knew Zahira's game. Every step was a trap, every object out of place, an invitation to stumble. "Careful, mother. You're so distracted today," Zahira chirped, her voice sweet, but with a mockery that Fatima felt like a sting. The elderly woman pressed her lips together, refusing to give her daughter-in-law the satisfaction. Her dignity was the only thing Zahira hadn't yet managed to steal, and Fatima clung to it like a castaway. Meanwhile, thousands of feet up, Sheikh Karim looked out the window of his private jet. The clouds looked like cotton, but a subtle unease accompanied him. He had forgotten crucial documents for an urgent multi-million-dollar contract, something that never happened. A strange premonition had compelled him to return immediately. His heart, usually focused on business, now beat with an unexpected longing for his mother. Ever since Fatima lost her sight, Karim felt a lump in his throat whenever he left her. He trusted Zahira to care for her, but the image of his mother, so fragile and dependent, haunted him more than usual. At the mansion, Fatima finally managed to reach her favorite armchair, guided more by memory than by touch. She sat down, exhausted, feeling the weight of loneliness and abandonment. Zahira's threats, "If you tell Karim anything, I'll send you to a nursing home where no one will remember you," echoed in her mind, a slow poison corroding her soul. She wanted to scream, but her voice seemed trapped, suffocated by fear and the hope that one day Karim would see the truth for himself. She didn't want to worry him, nor did she want him to doubt his wife. Sheikha Fatima believed in divine justice and the strength of her son's love. She knew that deep down, Karim was a good and just man. Hours dragged on for Fatima, each minute an eternity of silence and helplessness. She heard Zahira's footsteps, her laughter with the maids, the loud music. Everything was a reminder of her exclusion. Outside, the sun began to set, a spectacle Fatima could no longer behold, but hope, like a small flame, still burned in her chest. She closed her eyes, imagining Karim's face, his gentle voice, the tight embrace she longed for. Little did she know that her son's aircraft was already beginning its descent, tearing through the night sky of Dubai, bringing not only the forgotten documents, but also the end of her silent nightmare. Fate was about to weave a new and surprising chapter. Karim's aircraft touched down in Dubai with a smoothness that contrasted with the turbulence in his chest. The engine fell silent, but the hum of worry for Fatima persisted, a dissonant melody in his mind. He descended the jet stairs, the city's night air enveloping him with its familiar warmth, and quickly got into the waiting car. The driver, accustomed to the Sheikh's unexpected returns, drove the vehicle through the illuminated streets, while Karim tried to shake off the uncomfortable feeling that something wasn't right. He chastised himself for not having noticed sooner, for having trusted blindly. But Zahira was his wife, the woman he had chosen to share his life with and to care for his mother. How could he doubt someone so close? At the mansion, Sheikha Fatima tried to find some comfort in the darkness that surrounded her. Dinner had been another ordeal, a plate of cold, tasteless rice, with a strange smell that made her recoil, her stomach churning. "Eat, mother, or you'll be too weak to go to the nursing home," Zahira had said, her voice dripping with false sweetness, but with a veiled threat that Fatima felt in her soul, like a slow poison. The elderly woman swallowed a few spoonfuls, more out of survival instinct than hunger, feeling the unpleasant texture in her mouth. The tears that streamed down her blind face were silent, a river of pain that no one saw, only felt. She retreated to her room, the memory of the moved furniture still fresh, making her grope every step with redoubled caution, fearing another stumble. Karim arrived at the imposing mansion. The lights gleamed. The facade exuded the same opulence as always, a cloak of normalcy. Nothing seemed out of place at first glance. He dismissed the servants at the entrance, deciding he would go straight to his office to retrieve the forgotten documents. He wanted to surprise Zahira and Fatima, perhaps with a gift or a simple night visit, to make up for his absence. The silence inside the house, however, was unusual for that hour, almost heavy. He walked through the sumptuous corridors, his footsteps echoing on the polished marble. A solitary sound. The art gallery, the ballrooms, everything was in perfect order, but as he approached the residential wing, a chill began to envelop him, tightening his heart. He thought of Fatima, how she had become quieter in recent months, more withdrawn. He attributed it to age, to her blindness, to the loss of independence. But now an inner voice whispered that there was something more, something he had ignored. He passed Zahira's room, the door ajar, and saw his daughter-in-law sitting at her dressing table, laughing softly as she spoke on the phone, oblivious to any concern. Karim felt a slight discomfort. Why wasn't Zahira with his mother? Her primary responsibility? He decided to go to the office first, get the papers, and then visit Fatima. But as he passed the corridor leading to his mother's room, a faint, muffled sound caught his attention, cutting through the silence. A moan, a stifled sob. Karim's heart clenched tightly. He hesitated, his hand already on the office doorknob, the forgotten documents momentarily forgotten. That sound was not of physical pain, but of a deep, almost desperate sadness that came from her soul. He recognized that sound. It was his mother's weeping. A cry he hadn't heard since his father's death years ago, when Fatima had retreated into silent mourning. Fury began to bubble up, an incipient flame, threatening to consume everything in its path. He turned abruptly, his eyes fixed on Fatima's bedroom door, from where the sound seemed to come, every fiber of his being on alert. Sheikh Karim, the ruthless businessman, felt the ground disappear beneath his feet. Something was terribly wrong, and the truth, he knew, was about to reveal itself. He advanced, each step laden with growing anguish, ready to uncover what lay hidden behind that closed door. He advanced, each step laden with growing anguish, ready to uncover what lay hidden behind that closed door. With a trembling but resolute hand, Karim turned the doorknob and pushed open his mother's bedroom door. What he saw made his heart freeze, and at the same time ignite with overwhelming fury. There was Sheikha Fatima sitting on the edge of the bed, her shoulders slumped, her wrinkled hands covering her face. Her body swayed slightly, and the muffled moans Karim had heard were now clearer, cutting through the room's silence like knives. Beside her, with a smile that dissolved into panic upon seeing Karim, was Zahira. She held a plate of fine porcelain, but its contents were repugnant, a shapeless greenish mass with a pungent smell that invaded Karim's nostrils. Turning his stomach, it was the almost unrecognizable food the premise mentioned, and the sheikh saw her pushing it towards his mother. "Mother!" Karim's voice came out hoarse, almost a whisper, but laden with searing pain. Fatima raised her head, her blind eyes watery and swollen, her face pale and streaked with tears. When she heard her son's voice, a mix of relief and terror overcame her. She tried to wipe away her tears hastily, an instinctive gesture of someone trying to hide their misery, but it was too late. The sheikh had already seen. Zahira, with the agility of a snake, tried to compose herself. "Karim, my love, what a pleasant surprise! We weren't expecting you so soon." She tried to force a smile, but her eyes betrayed her fear and guilt. "I was just helping your mother with dinner. She's a little unwell today, you know, and didn't want to eat." Karim didn't take his eyes off his mother. The sight of her, so fragile, so humiliated, with that plate of putrid scraps beside her, was a direct blow to his soul. He approached, ignoring Zahira, and knelt before Fatima. "Mother, what is this? Why are you crying?" he asked, his voice now firmer, but still permeated by deep sadness. He touched her face, feeling the dampness of her tears, and a shiver ran through his body. Fatima, feeling her son's familiar touch, broke down. "My son," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion, unable to form a complete sentence. Zahira's threats still echoed in her mind, but Karim's presence was a balm, a promise that perhaps her nightmare was coming to an end. She gripped Karim's hand tightly, her nails digging into his palm, a silent plea for help. Karim looked at the plate. The smell was unbearable. He picked up a piece of the mass with his finger, feeling its cold, slimy texture. There was no doubt that was not food for a human being, much less for his venerable mother. His eyes narrowed, and he slowly stood up, turning to Zahira. The expression on his face was one of contained fury, a volcano about to erupt. "Zahira," he said, his voice low and dangerous, "what is this you are giving my mother to eat?" His blue eyes, usually calm and calculating, now burned with an intensity Zahira had never seen. She recoiled a step, the plate still in her hands, trembling. The air in the room grew heavy, dense with the tension and the truth that could no longer be hidden. Karim felt the betrayal in every fiber of his being, the bitter disappointment of having been blind to the cruelty unfolding under his own roof. Zahira's fate was sealed, though she didn't know it yet. Zahira tried to swallow, but her throat seemed closed, every muscle in her body tense. "Karim, my love, it's nothing. Mother. She has such a delicate palate lately. I was just trying to give her something she could digest, something lighter." Her voice was a trembling mix of desperation and a pathetic attempt at normalcy. She gestured with her hands, the plate of putrid food still in them, as if the proximity of the evidence could somehow make it less real, less damning. Karim took a step forward, and Zahira recoiled another, hitting the cold wall of the room. His eyes, previously burning with fury, now showed a deep sadness, a disappointment that cut deeper than any anger. He didn't need words to understand. The nauseating smell, the repulsive appearance of the plate, his mother's stifled sobs, Fatima's huddled posture, everything screamed the truth in an undeniable way. "Light," he repeated, his voice icy, each syllable a whip cracking.